with great excitement, my husband and I are quickly approaching the Transatlantic Fashion Week by Cunard on the Queen Mary 2. Christian Siriano, the winner of Project Runway, and a fashion designer, he will be the key speaker on board the ship, as well as Bob Mackie, who designed Cher's costumes and Elton John's. And the model Coco Rocha will be on board, as well as many other fashion speakers. And we did the Fashion Week crossing in 2018, I believe it was, and it was fantastic, and I was so happy that they brought it back again. We've been waiting probably over a year for this voyage. The only sad thing about that is we won't be able to go to the dressmaker ball this year, but hopefully next year. So given that it's the Fashion Week crossing, I plan to wear many of the garments I've made over the past year or so on board the ship. It'll give me a great opportunity to rewear, for example, the Milan Frocktails dress, but this time style it for the Roaring Twenties ball, or just some of the other outfits I've made. So, of course I wanted to sew a special garment for the fashion crossing. And quite a few years ago, I came upon this photograph, which I then lost, and it took me years to find it again, and this is it. This woman from the 1920s wearing a hand-painted beautiful coat with an ocean liner wrapping around from front to back. And this just struck such a chord with me. I love Cunard, and I was like, I have to make that coat for myself. So during the time when Joann Fabrics was liquidating and sadly going out of business, I already knew that this was a project I wanted to complete, so I sourced quite a few yards of a light gray coat fabric, which I then used for this. The sewing pattern that I bought is Vogue 1977, and it is a re-release 1955 sewing pattern, but I feel like it kind of is easy to work into this like 20s look, and it worked for my purposes. The only thing is I did not like this pattern, as far as I don't like the vintage instructions, and I wish I did, but I found them difficult, so it wasn't my favorite. Probably won't make that coat again. So in order to make my coat, the first thing I did was just sew together the pieces to create the canvas to work from. So here are the pieces sewn together, and I stood on top of a stool and took a photograph of the coat laying flat. This was my canvas, and then I printed out the picture again, and this time I hand drew the Cunard Queen Mary 2 on the coat. My husband had printed out this beautiful picture of Queen Mary 2 to then try to recreate it. And I'm not a math and science kind of girl, so that was all just hand sketched with my own interpretation of how the proportions should turn out, and I feel like it turned out quite well. The ship painting, I first sketched it on the fabric with pencil, just taking the drawing and this drawing, and like if this the smokestack was here on that seam on the drawing, I did it here, and I once again just completely hand sketched the entire proportions of the image. And then I used fabric paints to paint it, as well as some really good black fabric markers that I bought on Amazon. And once the whole painting was done, that was the big part for me, was just painting it. And then I went on to create the actual coat with the sewing and all that. So there's a couple of really cool things about this coat. One is this vintage button. It's like metal, and this was a bound buttonhole. It has a gold lining and this is gray faux fur, kind of silvery gray faux fur from Mood Fabrics. And then the cuffs are also faux fur. And yeah, I'll post a better photo of wearing this, but I really love how it turned out. It's actually pretty warm and heavy. And so of course, like, the other part is the woman has a cloche style 1920s hat, and I thought I would buy one, but then I thought, no, just make it, you know. And I don't know, I found this website, DRCOS, and it had a free sewing pattern for a cloche hat. So I just printed, I don't like PDF patterns, by the way, not really. I've made a couple. I like paper patterns, but for a hat, it's not that big a deal because there were only like 2 pieces to print out, or 3. So this is the hat I made, and I actually deviated from like a standard cloche hat because I looked at some images of other women from the 20s, and I wanted it to be kind of extra for fashion crossing. And then in there is my label. And okay, so to tell you the truth, ever since our fabric store Joann's closed, it's very difficult to get any apparel fabric. And I went to the thrift store and bought a red winter coat and cut it up for the fabric, which I felt bad about doing, but like, there is no other fabric. So anyway, I think this thing turned out kind of cool. It is kind of like that vintage 20s look. And yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun wearing this on the ship. So once we go, I will be probably posting some of the outfits that I choose to wear. And if you ever get a chance to go on the Queen Mary 2, sailing transatlantic, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most fabulous, classic, old school ways to travel. And it's so relaxing to be at sea and watch, you know, orchestra performances, enjoy the food, just go in the beautiful library, lay out on the deck, go to the hot tub, meet people, go to lectures. It's really such a nice place to escape reality and feel like you're in a vintage world. And I love going to the tea parties and having reasons to dress up. Also the gala nights, those are one of my favorite things. So hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you next time.